My parents and sister demanded I give her husband the keys to my private ART studio they called just a shed. I calmly agreed. When they arrived the next day to take possession and found only an empty concrete slab, they had no idea what I had planned next. The worst betrayals always come wrapped in smiles. I learned that on a Sunday afternoon in May, watching my family's practice concern, as they explained why I needed to give up my art studio. My name is Anne, and I've spent 33 years being the reasonable daughter, the quiet one, the one who steps aside when Laura needs the spotlight, which is always. But that Sunday, something inside me finally cracked. "It's just a shed, really," my mother said, cutting into her roast beef. "Victor needs a proper workspace now that he's pursuing his calling as a sculptor." I set down my fork. The studio grandmother left me? The one I spent 2 years restoring? Laura's eyes welled up on cue. "Anne, you know Victor's been struggling to find his path. This could be it. He's so talented, and that shabby little building is perfect for his vision. Perfect. Like the boutique was perfect last year, and the food truck the year before that, and the cryptocurrency startup that drained their savings. Now my brother-in-law needed my sanctuary, and everyone at the table nodded like it made perfect sense. You barely use it anymore," my father added softly. "And family helps family." I looked around at their faces. Mother's stern authority, father's conflict-avoiding smile, Laura's theatrical tears, and Victor's entitled smirk. They'd planned this ambush carefully, waiting until dessert when I'd be trapped by politeness. "The property is mine," I said quietly. "Grandmother left it to me specifically." "Oh, don't be difficult," Mother snapped. "It's just sitting there collecting dust. Victor needs a new hobby?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. Laura gasped. "That's so cruel. Victor is an artist just like you pretend to be." I thought about my grandmother's hands guiding mine over canvas when I was 8, about the hours we spent in that studio, her teaching me to see beauty in shadows while Laura played princess inside, about the letter she left me, making me promise to keep creating, to never let them dim my light. "Anne," Mother's voice carried that familiar warning. "Your sister's husband needs our support. The studio is perfect for his work. You can paint in your spare room. It's not like you're selling anything." Actually, I'd sold 3 pieces last month under a pseudonym. They didn't know because they never asked, just like they never asked about my shows, my classes, my dreams. Of course, I heard myself say, "Victor can have the studio." The tension dissolved instantly. Laura squealed and hugged Victor. Mother nodded approvingly. Father looked relieved. "We'll help move your things out next weekend," Victor announced. "I've already ordered some equipment, premium stuff. This is a serious investment." I smiled. "No need to wait. Take it whenever you want." They lingered over coffee, planning Victor's artistic future in my space. Nobody noticed I wasn't participating. Nobody saw me slip into the kitchen and make a phone call. "Leo, remember that contingency plan we discussed? It's time." After they left, I stood in the growing darkness watching their taillights disappear down my long driveway. The studio's silhouette looked almost ghostly in the twilight. I could still smell grandmother's oil paints, hear her laugh, feel her presence in every board and beam. My phone buzzed. Leo's text read, "Cruise ready. Sure about this?" I thought about Laura's tears, always so perfectly timed. About Mother's dismissive waves whenever I spoke. About Father's endless compromises at my expense. About Victor's smirk when he said premium equipment, knowing he'd use my grandmother's space to chase another dead-end dream. 33 years of being reasonable, of stepping aside, of watching Laura take and take while I was expected to give and give. The studio was my line in the sand, and they'd crossed it with casual entitlement. I texted back, "Do it tonight." Then I called Zara, my lawyer friend. "Remember those property documents we prepared? File them first thing tomorrow." And, she hesitated, "this will start a war." I watched the first trucks turn onto my property, their headlights cutting through the dark. Leo's crew moved with practiced efficiency, unloading tools and equipment. "No," I replied, feeling calmer than I had in years. "This will end one." I could almost hear grandmother's approval as I walked toward the studio, ready to oversee its careful deconstruction. They wanted my space? Fine. They could have what was left of it. Sometimes the best revenge starts with a smile and the word yes. Leo's crew worked through the night with surgical precision. Every board, every nail, every piece of my grandmother's studio was carefully numbered, documented, and loaded onto trucks. By 3 a.m., I was running on coffee and pure adrenaline, but I couldn't look away. "You sure about the new location?" Leo asked, checking his clipboard. "It's pretty remote." "That's the point." I watched as they wrapped my grandmother's workbench in protective padding. "No one in my family hikes. They won't find it." The empty concrete slab looked strange in the pre-dawn light, like a blank canvas waiting. I'd left only the utility connections and a single rusted nail, a small touch I knew would drive Victor crazy. At 9:45 a.m., right on schedule, 3 cars pulled into my driveway. I counted under my breath. 3, 2, 1. What the hell? Victor's voice carried across the property. "Where's the studio?" I stepped onto my porch, coffee cup in hand. "Good morning." Laura jumped out of their SUV, her designer boots clicking on the gravel. "Anne, what did you do?" "You said Victor could have the studio." I took a deliberate sip of coffee. "I never said where it would be." Mother's face turned that special shade of purple I hadn't seen since I'd refused to be Laura's maid of honor. "This is absolutely unacceptable. Where are Victor's supplies?" "He had deliveries scheduled." "Oh, those arrived an hour ago." I pointed to a stack of boxes near the slab. "I signed for them." Victor stormed up to me, finger pointed. "You spiteful butt." "Careful," I interrupted. "You're on private property and my security cameras are running." "Security cameras?" Father looked bewildered. "Since when?" "Since last night, along with the new property line markers and no trespassing signs." I smiled. "Zara helped with the paperwork. She's very thorough." Laura burst into tears. Real ones this time. "How could you do this to us?" "Victor spent thousands on equipment. Poor planning on his part doesn't constitute an emergency on mine." I'd practiced that line all night. Mother stepped forward using her best church voice. "Anne, stop this foolishness immediately. Tell us where you moved everything." "No." The silence that followed was worth every penny I'd spent on the overnight operation. "No?" Mother repeated as if I'd spoken in tongues. "It's a complete sentence." I set down my coffee cup. "The studio is gone. The property is mine, and if anyone steps past those markers, I'll press charges for trespassing." Victor laughed nastily. "You think you can just—" "I already did." I pulled out my phone and played the security footage from last night. Legally documented removal of my property with time-stamped video evidence. "Would you like to see the permits?" "Your grandmother would be ashamed," Mother hissed. Something cold settled in my chest. Grandmother left me that studio in her will, specifically me. Want to know why? Laura stepped back, suddenly uncertain. "Good." She remembered. "She knew exactly what would happen," I continued. "She watched for years as you took everything I loved. My college fund for Laura's wedding, my apartment deposit for Victor's food truck, my savings for their temporary mortgage help. We're family," Father pleaded. "We help each other." "No. You help Laura, I help Laura, everyone helps Laura." I met his eyes. "Not anymore." Victor grabbed one of his equipment boxes. "This isn't over." "I'll sue for what?" I raised an eyebrow. "The studio you never owned? The space you have no legal claim to?" "Please try." Zara would love to countersue for harassment. They stood there. 5 adults having a collective tantrum on my driveway. It was almost artistic. The way Mother's hands twisted her purse strap. How Laura's mascara ran perfectly down one cheek. Father's lost puppy expression. I should paint it someday. "Leave," I said quietly. "Now, before I call the police." Mother opened her mouth, but Father touched her arm. He knew my tone. The same one grandmother used when she'd truly had enough. They retreated to their cars, Laura's sobs echoing across the property. As their vehicles disappeared down the driveway, Leo's truck pulled up. He'd been watching from the road, ready to intervene if needed. "You okay?" he asked, joining me on the porch. I watched the dust settle on my driveway. They called it just a shed. I know. He handed me a set of keys. "The studio's secure at the new location. We can head up whenever you're ready." I pocketed the keys, feeling their weight like a promise. This was just the opening act, you know? "Yeah." Leo grinned. "What's Act 2? I smiled, thinking of the documents in my safe, the evidence I'd gathered, the plans laid out like brushstrokes on canvas. Let's just say, Victor isn't the only one with deliveries scheduled. The security company finished installing the cameras and motion sensors around the empty concrete slab 3 days after the studio disappeared. I watched the technician test the system, thinking about Victor's 2 attempted break-ins over the weekend. Both times he'd left before the police arrived, but I had it all on my phone's camera. "You've got quite the setup here," the technician said, adjusting a sensor. "Planning for trouble?" "No. Just documenting it." My phone buzzed. "Zara. Got a minute? You need to see these documents." 20 minutes later, I sat in her office staring at a stack of papers that proved what I'd always suspected about Victor's past business ventures. "So the food truck wasn't just a failure," I said, reading through bank statements. "It was fraud." Zara nodded. "He never had the permits, used the startup money to pay off gambling debts, and that's not all." She slid another folder across her desk. "Remember Sean? Victor's old partner? The one who disappeared after their tech startup crashed? He didn't disappear. He was threatened." Zara tapped the folder. "Victor borrowed money using forged documents. When Sean discovered it, Victor threatened to implicate him in the scheme. I thought about Sean. Quiet, honest Sean, who'd attended our family dinners until suddenly he hadn't. Does he still have proof? Better." Zara smiled. "He's willing to testify." My phone buzzed again. Mother had sent a group text. "Family meeting tonight. Non-negotiable. And this behavior stops now." I showed Zara the message. She snorted. "Perfect timing. Want me to come?" "No. But have those cease and desist letters ready to send tomorrow." The family meeting was at my parents' house. Neutral territory. Or so they thought. I arrived exactly on time to find them already seated in the living room like a tribunal. "Anne," Mother began, "this has gone far enough. Your sister is devastated." Laura sat on the couch, dabbing her eyes. "Victor's reputation is ruined. His art contacts won't return his calls." "Art contacts?" I pulled out my phone. "You mean the fake references he listed on his grant applications?" Victor stood up. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Actually, I do." I opened my email. "Sean sends his regards." The color drained from Victor's face. Laura looked confused. Who's Sean?" "Tell her, Victor. Tell her about the startup money, the forged documents, the threats." "What threats?" Laura turned to her husband. "Victor?" I kept going. "Tell her about the food truck permits you never filed, the health code violations you covered up, the gambling debts you paid with her trust fund." "Stop it," Mother shouted. "These are private family matters." "No. These are legal matters." I held up my phone, and I have proof of all of it. Father finally spoke. "What do you want, Anne?" "Want?" I laughed. "I wanted my studio left alone. I wanted my inheritance respected. I wanted one thing that was mine to stay mine." "So this is revenge?" Laura's voice cracked. "Destroying my marriage over a shed? Your marriage was destroyed by lies." "I'm just turning on the lights." I stood up. "Check your bank accounts, Laura. The freeze isn't from me. It's from the fraud investigation Victor's previous victims finally reported." Victor lunged forward, but Father caught his arm. "Don't," he warned. "She's recording everything." Smart man. I walked to the door. "Oh, and Victor, those art supplies you left on my property, they'll be donated to the community center tomorrow. Consider it restitution for all the supplies you stole from Sean's studio." "You can't," he started. "I can." I did. And tomorrow Zara's sending cease and desist letters to everyone involved. "Try to enter my property again, and you'll be arrested." Mother's voice turned sickly sweet. "Darling, we can discuss this reasonably." "No, we can't." I opened the door. "You taught me that on Sunday." As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. A text from Sean. "Got your message. Ready to talk whenever you are." I smiled, thinking of the evidence he had, the story he could tell. Victor's house of cards was about to collapse, and Laura would finally see who she'd married. Another text came through from Father this time. "Can we talk privately? Just us?" I stared at the message for a long moment. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to keep the walls up, but another part remembered the father who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd hung my first painting on his office wall. Tomorrow, I texted back alone. Let him try to explain. Let him see what his passive acceptance of Laura's entitlement had created. Let him understand that sometimes the quiet daughter isn't quiet anymore, because this wasn't about a studio anymore. This was about 33 years of being pushed aside, of watching bad behavior rewarded, of swallowing my truth to keep their peace, and I was just getting started. The gallery opening was Zara's idea. "You've been painting your family's truth for years," she said. "Time to let others see it." I rented a small gallery downtown, sent invitations to everyone in my parents' social circle, and waited. The paintings I chose were the ones I'd never shown anyone, raw symbolic pieces that told stories my family preferred to keep hidden. On opening night, I stood in the center of the gallery watching faces I'd known since childhood, as they realized what they were seeing. Mrs. Peterson, my mother's bridge partner, stared at Sunday Best, a painting of a woman with a porcelain smile and clawed hands, counting money in a church pew. "Is that?" she whispered to her husband. "The centerpiece is called Sister's Keeper," I said, approaching them. "Notice the burning cradle in the background?" The painting showed Laura standing over flames, her face serene as she counted dollar bills. Behind her, smoke rose from a baby's cradle, a reference to the accident with my childhood art supplies that Laura had blamed on me. "These are unusual," Mrs. Peterson managed. "They're true," I replied. "Every single one." The crowd grew larger. I'd timed the opening to coincide with the monthly art walk, ensuring maximum exposure. People clustered around Father's shadow, murmuring about the man made of tissue paper, bent by invisible winds. "Anne," Mother's voice cut through the gallery. "What have you done?" She stood in the doorway, Father behind her, both dressed for their usual Thursday dinner at the country club. Someone must have called them. "Welcome to my show," I said. "Would you like a tour?" Mother's eyes darted around the room, recognizing faces from church, from her charity committees, from the country club board. "Take these down now. They're for sale, actually." I gestured to the red dots already marking several pieces. People seem quite interested in family dynamics. Father walked slowly to the inheritance, a triptych, showing hands passing gifts over a crying child's head. His face went pale. "You can't do this," Mother hissed. "This is private family business. No, this is art." I handed her a price list, and it's selling quite well. A small crowd had gathered around Laura's crown, a piece showing my sister as a paper doll, wearing a crown of thorns and dollar signs. Someone gasped as they recognized her. "That's the minister's favorite family," I heard someone whisper. "The perfect daughters." Mother grabbed my arm. "You're destroying everything we built." "You mean, the image you built?" I pulled free. "The careful fiction of the perfect family?" "Anne," Father's voice cracked. "Please." "Oh, you'll love the back room," I said. "It's called the Enabler Collection." Before they could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Laura, taking Victor to rehab. "Don't tell Mom." I smiled, showing Mother my phone. "Looks like I'm not the only one exposing truths tonight." She read the message, her face crumpling. Behind her, Mrs. Peterson was already on her phone, no doubt spreading the news through her extensive social network. "You've ruined us," Mother whispered. "No." I pointed to family portraits, a series showing masks cracking to reveal real faces beneath. "You did that yourselves. I'm just the historian." Father touched Mother's shoulder. "Angela, let's go." "This isn't over," she said, but her voice shook. "Actually, it is." I handed her a gallery catalog. Page 12 shows my next exhibition. It's called Grandmother's Will, all about the real reason she left everything to me. They left quickly, Mother's heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Through the gallery windows, I watched them argue in their car before driving away. Zara appeared at my elbow. "You okay?" "Better than okay." I watched as another red dot went up beside Sister's Keeper. "The truth looks good on canvas." My phone buzzed again. An email notification. My online gallery, under my pseudonym, had just sold 3 pieces to a major collector. The same collector who'd been buying my work for months, never knowing the quiet artist was the eldest daughter of his golf partner. "Wanna know the best part?" I showed Zara the email. "Dad's been unknowingly bidding against himself. He loves my work when he doesn't know it's mine." The gallery continued to fill with people, their whispers growing louder as they recognized faces and stories in my paintings. By midnight, most pieces were sold, and my family's carefully constructed image lay in artistic ruins. In my studio, my hidden rebuilt sanctuary, I had already started my next series. Paintings about redemption, about consequences, about the price of silence and the cost of speaking up. Let them see it all. Let them finally see me. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served in full color, framed and priced to sell. I was in my hidden studio when Leo called. "You need to see this," he said. Victor's launched a Kickstarter campaign. 5 minutes later, I watched the video on my laptop, torn between laughter and disbelief. Victor, looking appropriately disheveled after his 3 days in rehab, stared soulfully into the camera. "Art is about truth," he said, his voice trembling, "and the truth is, I've been wronged. A vengeful family member stole my creative space, destroying my dreams of bringing beauty to the world." "He's got to be kidding," Zara said over speakerphone. "Wait for it," Leo replied. The video continued, showing Victor walking around the empty concrete slab on my property. This was supposed to be my studio, my sanctuary. But jealousy and greed took it away. I checked the campaign details. He was asking for $50,000 to rebuild his dream and fight legal persecution. "Send it to Sean," I told Zara. "He'll want to see this." Within hours, Sean had emailed back with a folder of screenshots, years of messages showing Victor's pattern of fraud, including the threats that had silenced Sean initially. "Ready to go public?" I texted him. "Do it," he replied. I was about to forward everything to a local reporter when Laura called. Surprising myself, I answered. "He's gone," she said, her voice raw. "Left rehab this morning, emptied our accounts." "All of them?" "Everything except," she took a shaky breath, "except what he couldn't access. The trust fund Daddy froze last week." I sat down processing this. "When did Dad freeze the accounts?" "After your gallery opening, he said he needed to protect me from myself." She laughed bitterly. "Turns out, he needed to protect me from Victor." My phone buzzed. Another call coming in. "Hold on," I told Laura. It was Sean. "Victor just tried to use my old business credentials to apply for a loan," he said without preamble. "I've got it all documented." I switched back to Laura. "Where are you?" "Home. I mean, at Mom and Dad's." I can't stay in our house alone." "Stay there." I grabbed my keys. "I'm coming over." Mother opened the door when I arrived, her face tight. "Here to gloat?" "Here to help," I corrected, walking past her. Laura sat in the kitchen surrounded by papers, bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents. Her hands shook as she sorted through them. "He forged my signature," she whispered, multiple times. "The food truck, the tech startup, even she held up a document. Even the papers about your studio. He faked my support for his artistic vision to get emergency permits." "Laura," I said quietly, "we need to call the police." "Already did," Father said from the doorway. "They're looking for him." Mother made a distressed sound. "This is private family." "No," Laura interrupted. "No more private family business. No more covering up." Look what that got me. I sat beside my sister, seeing her clearly for the first time in years, the perfect daughter, the golden child, reduced to sorting through evidence of her husband's crimes. "His Kickstarter campaign," I said gently. "We need to report it." Laura nodded. "Do it. Do whatever you need to do." Mother started to protest, but Father touched her shoulder. "Angela, enough. Let the girls handle this." My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Victor's campaign had been suspended for fraud investigation. The comment section was filling with people sharing stories of his past scams. "It's going viral," I told Laura. She closed her eyes. "Good." "Laura," Mother pleaded, "think about the family name." "The family name?" Laura stood up, scattering papers. "The family name is why I stayed quiet when I first suspected. The family name is why I let him drain my accounts. The family name is why Anne's the only one who saw him clearly." The kitchen fell silent. Mother sank into a chair, Father's hand still on her shoulder. "I'm sorry," Laura whispered, looking at me. "I'm so sorry for everything." I thought about the painting in my studio, the new one, still unfinished. A portrait of two sisters, backs turned to each other, connected by tangled strings. "Help me," Laura said. Help me fix this. Mother made a small, broken sound. Father's hand tightened on her shoulder. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the perfect makeup, the designer clothes, I saw something new, fear, regret, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of wisdom. Okay, I said. But we do this my way. Complete honesty. No more covers. No more lies. Laura nodded, tears spilling. Your way. I pulled out my phone and called Zara. Remember that evidence file we compiled? Bring it all and call Sean. We're going to need his statement. Because sometimes revenge isn't about destroying people. Sometimes it's about destroying the lies that destroyed them first. The diner was nearly empty when I met Father for breakfast. He sat in a corner booth looking older than I'd ever seen him, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Thanks for coming, he said as I slid into the seat across from him. You said it was important. I ordered coffee from the waitress, watching him fidget with his napkin. The police found Victor, he said finally. In Las Vegas, he'd lost everything at the tables. Everything of Laura's, you mean? He winced. Yes. And there's more. The detective called this morning. Other victims are coming forward. Other families. Other pretty daughters? I couldn't help asking. Anne. He set down his spoon. I know I failed you, both of you. I thought keeping peace was the same as keeping family. The waitress brought my coffee. I added cream, taking my time. Your grandmother, he continued. She tried to warn me about Victor, about how we treated you, about everything. I know. I met his eyes. She told me. She did? The day she changed her will. I pulled an envelope from my bag, the letter I'd kept sealed for years. She left me more than just the studio, Dad. His hands shook as he took the envelope. What do you mean? Read it. He unfolded the letter, his face growing paler with each line. This can't be right. The family house, I said quietly. The one you and Mom remortgaged to pay for Laura's wedding? Grandmother never signed over full ownership to you. She kept controlling interest in a trust for me, but we've been living there for 30 years under a trust agreement that required you to treat all grandchildren equally. I took a sip of coffee. She documented everything, Dad. Every time you chose Laura over me, every investment in Victor's schemes, every college fund drained. Why didn't she say anything? She did. You didn't listen. I pulled out another document. This is the trust violation notice. One signature, and the house reverts to me. He stared at the paper, then at me. You wouldn't? Like you wouldn't let Victor take my studio? The silence stretched between us, filled with 33 years of choices. What do you want? He asked finally. What I've always wanted, Dad, for someone in this family to choose me first, just once. He reached across the table, but I pulled back. Don't, I said. Don't try to fix this with a hug or a promise. This isn't about feelings anymore. It's about consequences. We can work something out, he pleaded. For Laura's sake, I stood up so quickly my coffee spilled. For Laura's sake, even now, even after everything, she's lost everything. Because you and Mom never let her face consequences. My voice carried across the diner because you taught her that she could take whatever she wanted, because you made me her safety net for so long that she forgot how to stand on her own. Please, he whispered. The house. Your mother would never recover. Like I never recovered from watching you bankrupt my future for Laura's dreams? I placed a business card on the table. That's Zara's number. She'll handle the trust execution. And you have a choice, Dad. For the first time, you have to actually choose. Either sign the house over to me voluntarily, or I'll execute the trust violation clause and take it legally. He picked up the card with trembling fingers. And then what? Then maybe you'll understand what it feels like to lose your sanctuary. I walked out of the diner into the morning sun, my hands shaking. My phone buzzed. Laura, the detective needs more documentation, she said, about Victor's past frauds. I'll have Zara send everything. And? Her voice cracked. Did you meet with Dad? Yes. The house? Are you really going to? Yes? A long pause. Good. I stopped walking. What? They need to understand, Laura said quietly. What it feels like. What they did to you. What they let happen to both of us. I leaned against my car, suddenly exhausted. When did you get so insightful? When I lost everything except my big sister. She paused. The sister I never deserved. Through the diner window, I could see Father still sitting in the booth, staring at Zara's card like it held the secrets of the universe. We can't go back, I told Laura. I know, she replied, but maybe we can go forward differently. I thought about the unfinished painting in my studio, the tangled strings between the sisters starting to unknot. Maybe, I said. But first, there are consequences. I know, Laura whispered. I finally know. The call from Child Protective Services came on a Tuesday. I was in my rebuilt studio working on a new series when the investigator introduced herself. We received an anonymous report, she said, concerning your sister Laura's home situation. My brush froze mid-stroke. I didn't file any report. No. The investigator agreed. According to our records, the complaint came from your mother. I set down my palette. My mother reported Laura, citing financial instability, unsafe living conditions, and, she paused, and concerns about Laura's emotional state affecting her ability to parent. The irony was almost artistic. Mother, who'd spent decades protecting Laura from consequences, had finally created the biggest one of all. I called Laura immediately. They're coming tomorrow, she said, her voice hollow, to inspect the house, to interview me. Mom says it's for my own good. Where are you now? At Zara's. She's helping me get my paperwork in order. Laura took a shaky breath. Anne, I need a favor. What? Come to the house inspection. Be my witness. Show them I'm trying. I thought about all the times Laura had asked for help before, all the times it had been a manipulation, but this time, her voice held something new. Humility? Okay, I said. I'll be there. The next day, I watched the CPS investigator walk through Laura's house. It was clean, organized, clearly prepared for inspection. Laura followed behind, answering questions with a calm I'd never seen in her before. Your financial situation? The investigator asked. I've frozen all joint accounts, Laura replied. Filed for divorce, started counseling, and she glanced at me. My sister's helping me find work at the Community Arts Center. This was news to me, but I nodded when the investigator looked my way. And your mother's concerns about your emotional stability? Laura straightened her shoulders. I'm in therapy twice a week, dealing with years of enabling behavior and codependency, learning to stand on my own. The investigator made notes, then turned to me. And you're supporting this transition? Yes, I said. For the first time, my sister's facing reality, and she's stronger than anyone gave her credit for. After the investigator left, Laura collapsed onto her couch. Mom really did it. She really reported me. To control you, I said. To force you back home. I know. Laura stared at her hands. That's why I'm not fighting the house transfer. You should have it. All of it. My phone buzzed. A text from Leo. Your mother's causing a scene at the gallery. Speaking of control, I showed Laura the message. Want to watch Mom's last stand? We arrived at the gallery to find Mother in full meltdown, screaming at my latest exhibition. The centerpiece was a large canvas titled Mother's Love, showing a woman building a cage out of gold bars. You ungrateful, spiteful child, she yelled when she saw me. First the house, now this? The house was grandmother's decision. I said calmly, the art is mine. Mom. Laura stepped forward. Stop. Mother spun toward her. You? How dare you side with her after everything we've done? That's exactly why. Laura interrupted. Everything you've done, everything you let happen, everything you made Anne suffer through. I protected you. No. Laura's voice was firm. You crippled me. And you used Anne to do it. The gallery had gone silent, visitors pretending not to watch the drama unfolding. Mother looked around, suddenly aware of her audience. This is private. Nothing's private anymore, I said. Grandmother knew that would be the only way to break this cycle. Public consequences for private crimes. Your father will hear about this. Dad signed the house transfer this morning, Laura said quietly. It's done, Mom. We're done. Mother's face crumpled. For a moment I saw past the rage to something smaller, something frightened, a woman watching her carefully constructed world collapse. Where am I supposed to go? She whispered. That's not our problem anymore, I replied. For once, Mother, you'll have to solve your own crisis. She left without another word, her heels clicking on the gallery floor like a countdown. Laura watched her go, then turned to me. The community center, she said. Did you mean it about helping me find work? I looked at my sister, really looked at her. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple practical wear. The perfect makeup had given way to clean skin and honest eyes. Yes, I said. If you're serious about teaching art to kids, I am. She smiled slightly. Turns out I learned something from watching you all these years about resilience, about creativity, about truth. I gestured to the painting of the golden cage. Truth isn't always pretty. No, Laura agreed, but it's always art. My phone buzzed again. Father, this time, your mother's gone to your aunt's. The house is empty. What now? I showed Laura the message. She read it, then looked at me with clear eyes. Now, she said, we paint something new. The autumn breeze carried the scent of oil paints through my hidden studio's open windows. I stood before a massive canvas, adding final touches to what might be my most honest work yet. A triptych showing 3 generations of women, their faces both masked and revealed. That's grandmother in the middle, isn't it? Laura asked from the doorway. She carried 2 cups of coffee and a folder of student artwork from her community center classes. Yes. I stepped back studying the brushstrokes. She's holding the strings, and mother's on the left trying to cut them. Laura set down the coffee. While we're on the right, tangled but free? Getting there. She spread her students' drawings across my work table. The kids loved your visit yesterday, especially when you showed them how to mix colors. They're talented. I picked up one drawing, a surprisingly sophisticated study of light and shadow. This one has real potential like you did at that age? Laura's voice held old regret. Before I ruined your supplies, we're not doing that anymore, I reminded her. Forward, remember? My phone buzzed. A text from Father. Drove by the old house today. The new color suits it. I'd painted it deep blue, like the night sky. Mother, still living with our aunt, had called it garish. Father, now renting a small apartment across town, had started sending photos of other blue houses he spotted, like peace offerings and pixels. Did you see Victor's sentencing made the news? Laura sipped her coffee. 3 to 5 years for fraud. You doing okay with that? She considered the question. Better than okay. It feels clean, like lancing a wound. The studio door creaked. Leo arriving with his toolbox. Ready to hang those new shelves? Perfect timing. I pointed to the wall I'd cleared. The light's best here. Laura gathered her students' artwork. I should head back to class. We're doing self-portraits today. Real ones or masked ones? I asked. She smiled. A real smile. Not the perfect one she'd worn for years. Real. Only real from now on. After she left, Leo started measuring the wall. She's different. We all are. I turned back to the triptych. Even Mother, maybe. Speaking of, he pulled an envelope from his pocket. She left this at my shop, asked me to give it to you. The letter was short, written in Mother's precise handwriting. The blue house hurts my eyes, but I understand why you painted it. I understand more than I want to. Your grandmother would be proud of you both. Maybe someday, I can be too. Mom, you okay? Leo asked quietly. I folded the letter carefully. Getting there. He touched my shoulder, then went back to his measurements. I picked up my brush, adding one final detail to the triptych. A small blue house in the background, its door standing open. Zara called while Leo worked. The trust paperwork is complete. The house is officially yours, free and clear. And the studio's location? Still secret, though Laura's the only one still looking. Let her look, I said. She'll find it when she's ready. After Leo left, I sat in my grandmother's old chair, the one piece I'd kept exactly as it was. Her apron still hung on a nearby hook, paint stained and perfect. You knew, didn't you? I said to the empty air. You knew it would take something this big. The breeze stirred the apron strings like an answer. My phone lit up with a message from Laura. The kids want to know if their art teacher's sister can come back tomorrow, please? Before I could reply, another text arrived from Father. Found another blue house. This one has a garden. Thinking of planting one at my apartment. Maybe you could help? And finally, from Mother, the blue is growing on me, like truth does. I looked at my triptych, at the tangled strings becoming loose threads, at the masks slipping to show real faces beneath. At the small blue house with its open door, they called it just a shed. A simple studio on a concrete slab, but it was always more than that. It was the key that unlocked everything we'd kept locked away. I picked up my brush one last time, adding a tiny figure walking through that painted door, walking forward, not back, walking free. Because sometimes revenge isn't about destroying what was, sometimes it's about building what could be. I signed the painting with my real name. No more pseudonyms needed. Then I texted Laura. Same time tomorrow. Bring your real brushes this time. The autumn breeze carried the scent of possibility through my windows, and somewhere I swear I heard my grandmother laugh.